ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 8, Dhruva Mahārāja leaves home. So we are in the section where Dhruva is being severely offended. And Dhruva, being a child, and the way Kshatriya personality he is, he also takes that offense very seriously, right? And there is interaction. So he comes crying. Okay, very beautiful verse here. Tam nishwasantam spurito adhor suniti utsanga udrushta balam nishamya tat paura mukhan nikhintatam sa vivathe yat ritam sapatnya. And Suniti is being conveyed that how Suruci has spoken very harshly by others, and she also feels extremely sad, and she also feels greatly aggrieved. So both of them are crying. Okay. But while Suniti is crying, she has, maintained her the devotional composure and her surrender towards the Supreme Lord. Text 16. Sotsrujya dhairyam viralapashoka davagnina davat lateva bala vakyam sapatnya smarati saroja Shriyadrisha Bashpakalamuvaha. Translation.
This incident was unbearable to Suniti's patience. She began to burn as if in a forest fire, and in her grief she became just like a burnt leaf, and so lamented. As she remembered the words of her co-wife, her bright lotus-like face filled with tears, and thus she spoke. Purport: when a man is aggrieved, he feels exactly like a burnt leaf in a forest fire. Suniti's position was like that. Although her face was as beautiful as a lotus flower, it dried up because of the burning fire caused by the harsh words of her co-wife. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, very amazing verse. Sosrujya dhairyam vilalapashoka. So the incident was unbearable to Suniti's patience. She had already tolerated the upeksha from Uttānapāda, and she is tolerating that. And Suruci must have been speaking very harshly throughout because she is Ati Garvita, extremely proud. She began to burn as if in a forest fire, and in her grief she became just like the burnt leaf and thus lamented. Shriya Drusha Bashpa Kalam Uba, while lamenting and weeping. Okay, so all the shlokas they are coming that she is weeping while speaking the shlokas. So one has to be extremely careful with one's speech. One can please somebody, and therefore this vak chaturta, or the control on the speech is extremely important. Later also it will come in Bhagavatam that how one can create, long-lasting enmity simply by one's speech, and one can create very good friendship also simply by one's speech. How we vibrate our tongue, and therefore 4 verses by Suruci, and here look at the condition here being it is. And therefore, one has to be extremely, graceful, very, very, one has to be mindful, one has to be always in the consciousness of giving pleasure to others when one is speaking. One cannot say, मेरा बच्चा है, ये तो मेरा बेटी है, ये तो मेरा wife है, और ये तो मेरा husband है. All, everything put together, even the ladies also. Or he's my very close friend, he's my father, he's my mother. You don't know what will be taken. If somebody is my colleague, especially opposite gender colleague, you may speak, many loose words for 20 years, and one word can be picked up on the 21st year, which somebody has very commonly used, and that can become offensive. So it is always, recommended that one controls one's speech. Now look at the effect she has. While weeping, she remembered the words of her co-wife, and her bright, lotus-like face filled with tears, and thus she began to speak. Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, when a man is aggrieved, his face exactly, he feels like the burnt leaf in the forest fire. Samsara davanada. That's why here the word used is davagnina. Davalateva bala. Right. Bala, that woman, began to feel like this. And her very beautiful face, right, was filled up with tears, and because of the harsh words by Sapatnya, co-wife. Text 17. Dirgham shvasanti vrajanasya param apaschati balakamaha bala. Mam amangalam tat pareshimam stha bhungte jano yat paradukhatastat. Translation.
She also was breathing very heavily, and she did not know the factual remedy for the painful situation. Not finding any remedy, she said to her son, "My dear son, don't wish for anything inauspicious for others. Anyone who inflicts pains upon others suffers himself from that pain." Hare Krishna.
Dirgham shvasanti. Very, very, she was breathing very heavily. And here, weeping. Here we see Dhruva breathing very heavily. He is weeping, crying. And what is the first? And she did not know what to do. I mean, because very, very intense emotions are in the play. How to behave in such a painful situation? Look at her first Upadesh. Mam amangalam tahata pareshamam stam. She says, my dear child, don't wish anything inauspicious for her. Right? This is the first Upadesh. Look at this shows the character of Sunīti. Right? That don't wish anything inauspicious. Ma mamangala tata pareshamam stam bhungte yato jano yat paradukhatat. Why? Because anyone who inflicts pain upon others suffers himself from that pain. Amazing verse this is. This shows the character of Sunīti. Simply great. One can see what is her physical condition, what is her emotional condition, and what is her Upadesh. Right? What is the physical condition? Weeping, crying, dirgham shvasanti. What is the emotional condition? burnt like a leaf in the forest fire. And what is the Upadesh? Mama Mangala Tata Pareshamam Stham. This is Bhagavatam. Right? This is the first Upadesh that she's saying, don't wish bad for her. Mama Mangala, don't wish any amangal for one who has inflicted pain upon you. So devotee, so therefore one of the criteria of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is, what is the criteria? Nirmat Saranam Satam. One has to be Nirmatsara. Sometimes, even sometimes devotees become rightly so and very angry and, and remembering the history, how the Mughals treated, you will be surprised to know. We know that Muhammad Khilji, when he attacked Sri Rangam, he killed 12,000 Vaishnavas, Sri Vaishnavas, right? They were trying to protect the temple, and he butchered 12,000 Vaishnavas. And one of the very few personalities remaining there was Vedanta Desikan. Who is like considered to be Prati Ramanuja. He's like as great as a Ramanujacharya in the disciplic succession of Sri Sampradaya. Now Vrindavan is far closer to Delhi, the seat of the this Mughals, compared to Sri Rangam. In 16 something, in the month of April, when Aurangzeb attacked Vrindavan, and there were so many temples by then, right? Madan Mohan temple, Govinda Dev temple, Radharaman temple, so many temples. Amazing atmosphere in Vrindavan. Devotees were trying to protect temple, and 260,000 Vrajavasis were killed when Aurangzeb attacked Mathura and Vrindavan within those 3 days. Can you imagine the number? Right. But why we are discussing this is, sometimes we will remember the past injustice and will wish something amangalam. And that is not a devotee. This is very important thing. This is not a devotee. Ma mamangala tata parishamam stham. Right. So what we can wish that, let they also become Vaishnavas. Right. Let they also have the higher goals in life. Something like that. So this is her physical condition, her emotional condition, and her Upadesh is completely, it is, what a verse it is. We can take literally 7-day workshop on this one verse, that the character of Sunīti. Text 18. Satyam surucha abhihitam bhavan me durbhagaya yaddurбhagaya udare gruhitah stanyena vruddhyascha vilajjate yam bharyeti vavodum idispatirmam. Translation.
Sunīti said, "My dear boy, whatever has been spoken by Suruci is so, because the king, your father, does not consider me his wife or even his maidservant. He feels ashamed to accept me. Therefore, it is a fact that you have taken birth from the womb of an unfortunate woman, and by being fed from her breast, you have grown up."
She said, my dear child, whatever is spoken by Suruci, Satyam Surucha Abhihitam Bhavanme, whatever she has spoken is actually true. Because your father does not consider me to be his wife or even his maid servant. Right? So how we treat people. And this is, now Uttānapāda made Sunīti feel so low and so bad. He offended Sunīti, he offended Dhruva, and therefore, in spite of being Shaktiavesh avatar, Uttānapāda could not do much in his life. Right? All you will see, extremely powerful king, extremely great in every other aspect, but simply how he treated devotees in his family, he was, sidelined. ठीक है भाई, आप wait list पे रहो. Respect will come very lately to you. And then we will see later, he is also going to lament very badly that what he has done. So he does not consider me as his wife, not even maid servant. He feels ashamed to accept me. And she must not have been so ugly or something like that. Bhagavatam says she's extremely beautiful. But maybe she lacked some tactic of, you know, those typical Dale Carnegie tactics, how to win friend and influence people, those kind of things. Being so, such a wonderful Vaishnavi, she must have lacked those kind of tricks. And that's why this kind of behavior from Uttānapāda. Therefore, it is a fact that although you have taken birth from me, unfortunate woman like me, he is treating like this to you and to me. Right? So first Upadesh is, look at the first Upadesh. First Upadesh is, don't be envious. Second Upadesh is acceptance of reality. This is reality, my dear Dhruva. So she's saying, and he what to speak of wife? He doesn't consider me even as a maid servant. He's ashamed to accept me as a wife. Accepting the reality, right? Text 19. Atishtatat vimatsarat tvam uktvam samatrapi yadi avyalikam आह्राधयाधोक्षजपाद पद्मं यदिच्छसे ध्यासनमुत्तमं यथा. Translation.
My dear boy, whatever has been spoken by Suruci, your stepmother, although very harsh to hear, it is factual. Therefore, if you desire at all to sit on the same throne as your stepbrother Uttama, then give up your envious attitude and immediately try to execute the instructions by your stepmother. Without further delay, you must engage yourself in worshipping the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. The harsh words used by Suruci to her stepson were true because unless one is favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot achieve any success in life. Man proposes, God disposes. Sunīti, the mother of Dhruva Mahārāja, agreed with her co-wife's advice that Dhruva engage himself in the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Indirectly, the words of Suruci were a benediction for Dhruva Mahārāja, for because of the influence of his stepmother's words, he became a great devotee.
Now the third Upadesh says, Atishtatat vimatsarastvam. That, my dear son, give up your envy and uktam samatatrape yada abhyalikam. And thus, immediately try to execute the instructions by your stepmother. Satyam, what she has spoken, Satyam Suruchyam, what she has spoken is really very true. Engage yourself in worshipping the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains the harsh words used by Suruci were actually true. And what is the truth in those words is, unless one is favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one will never attain any success. Prabhupada says, man proposes, God disposes. Right. And therefore she says, my dear Dhruva, please worship the Supreme Lord, please the Supreme Lord, and then you will attain whatever you want. And now she gives example of what you can attain if you please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 20. It's a beautiful verse. We will recite this one. Yasyangri angri padmam paricharya vishwa.
Yasyangri padmam paricharya vishwa.
Vishwa
Vibhavanayatta गुणाभिपत्ते
Vibhavanaya
Vibhavanayat
gunabhipatte.
Gunabhipatte
अजो अध्यतिष्ठत खलु पारमेष्ठ्यम्
Ajodhyati khalu parameshyam.
पदं जितात्मा श्वसनाभिवन्द्यम्
Padam
Padam
jitatma
Chitatma
shasana
Translation.
Sunīti continued, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so great that simply by worshipping his lotus feet, your great grandfather, Lord Brahma, acquired the necessary qualifications to create this universe. Although he is unborn and is the chief of all living creatures, he is situated in that exalted post because of the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, without even whom even great yogis worship by controlling the mind and regulating the life air prana purpose. Sunīti cited the example of Lord Brahma, who was Dhruva Mahāraja's great grandfather. Although Lord Brahma is also a living being, by his penance and austerity, he acquired the exalted position of creator of this universe by mercy of the Supreme Lord. To become successful in any attempt, one not only has to undergo severe penances and austerities, but also must be dependent on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This indication had been given to Dhruva Mahāraja by his stepmother and was now confirmed by his own mother Sunīti. Thank you.
So Sunīti, she gave example. Now, my dear child, just within our own family, your own grandfather, right? His father is Uttānapāda. Uttānapāda's father is Manu, and Manu's father is Brahmaji. So your great grandfather Brahma, he acquired the necessary qualification and attained the exalted post by mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So mother wanted to give, mother is crying, child is crying, both are breathing very heavily. Mother is giving some example to pacify the child, and she gave example the great grandfather Brahma, Parameshtham, and the child picked up that. What to speak of my great grandfather? I want to attain a position which is greater than my great grandfather. So he picked up, he is just 5-year-old, right? He just picked up Parameshtham very well. And Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that Sunīti cited example of Brahma, who is the great grandfather of Dhruva Mahārāja, and how he attained the exalted position. Not only tapasya was necessary, tapasya and austerity is minimum, right? But then beyond tapasya and austerity, there has to be mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada writes here, to become successful in any attempt, one not only has to undergo severe penances and austerities, right? But also must be dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there is prayasa plus krupa, both. 2 fingers, right? Damodar Lila. So there was a intense austerity and penance, and austerity and penance is not enough. One must also have krupa or mercy from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and this was confirmed by both. The stepmother sarcastically said the same thing, and this is confirmed by the mother. And Dhruva, he just forgot what stepmother said. He now picked up that I want to do austerity, penance, parameshtham. Right. These 3-4 things he picked up and followed his mother's instruction very well. Text 21. So we need to close little early today. So 5 minutes early we are closing. So we'll conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhuji. Hare
Prabhu. Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.